Now, for something entirely different, a bit of light relief, some good news for you. A pair of Osprey chicks have been born in North Yorkshire for the first time in 100 years.
And it's the result of a successful reintroduction programme at the Bolton Castle estate near Leyburn, where they made purpose-built platforms in a bid to encourage the birds to nest there.
Let's speak to Sacha Dench. She's a founder of the Conservation Without Borders and ambassador for the UN's Convention on Migratory Species. She joins us now. Sacha, morning to you. It looks glorious where you are. Talk to me about how significant this is, because ospreys, I'm right in thinking, have been born elsewhere in the country, but this is the first time in North Yorkshire, is that right?
It is, yes. The first record since records began in the early 1800s. So, yeah, it's a pretty significant thing. And whilst the landowners, the Bolton Castle estate, put up a platforms for them, there wasn't actually an active reintroduction. They noticed that birds were potentially scoping for somewhere. And had the forethought to put up a couple of platforms. And, yeah, miraculously, the birds have taken to it. And, yeah, the first breeding in that amount of time is really significant.
And quite unusual because they tend to return to where they're from, don't they?
They do, but one of the pair have usually kind of prospect around in different places. So on this nest in particular, the female has actually come from Glaslyn, where I am at the moment in Wales. So she has paired up with another male, an unringed male, and they have found the nest. Males tend to go back and try and prospect for a nest site near to where they were born. But yeah, they are on their migration from Africa. They are keeping an eye out for places.
So what happens now, Sacha? Like, how long will they stay in the nest here, and then where do they head off to? Do you have any idea? Because I think they're ringed, aren't they? So you'll be able to track them.
Yes, so the two young and the female are both ringed. The two young, 7C3 and 7C4, they were born sometime around the 13th of June. They'll be heading off in about 4 weeks potentially, as soon as they feel big enough and strong enough. But they will all be migrating on their own. And we do have an idea of where all ospreys are going from the UK, because there've been various birds with satellite tags over time. So yeah, but with these birds, we don't know exactly where they'll go. They'll probably go to sub-Sahara. So yeah, they'll be going anywhere between Senegal, Gambia, and even further around. But because they've got rings on them, we will now this year be actually trying to follow their migration as much as possible and ideally find out exactly where they're wintering.
Yeah, how incredible. Quickly, who comes up with the names? They're not the most imaginative. We know what mum is called, KS1, some of the other parents, CJ7, 22. Where are the names from?
The names are purely denoted by the ring that has been distributed to whoever was doing the ring. So they are not particularly creative. Some birds have got names, so we'll be following the satellite tracks of birds. One of them is called Tweed, for example. So some places are happy with naming birds, others don't like to name them. But yeah, this year we'll be following them on migration. It's a bit easier to think of a bird called Tweed than 7C3 and 7C4, but anyone looking up for birds along the flyway will be comfortable with those kind of numbers.
And you yourself have been called the human swan because of your paragliding following geese. Are you going to be following these guys? And if not, will you have the fear of missing out?
Well, we will be following the migration of the osprey this year. So we've got a team there's 9 of us in total, a mixture of researchers and people with cameras to look out for the birds. And we'll be following them all the way, trying to visit people, look at all the key stopover sites the birds are using along the way. And this year, really trying to look at what are the threats to the ospreys because of these juveniles that we'll be particularly looking out for. They've got a pretty low survival rate. Somewhere between 60 and 70% of them never return to breed. So this year, we're going to go and visit all of the places they tend to use on site, follow some satellite tracks as well, and see what we can do to, stop it, look at the threats on the way, speak to different people, and rally lots of people to support the osprey comeback in the future. And hopefully we'll have many more birds, many more returns in future.
And Sacha, we often talk about the impact of things like climate change, the destruction of habitat. How significant is it, and how rewarding is it that you're able to do stuff like this and we're able to see a positive impact with, albeit some human intervention, but this is a really significant moment in trying to reverse some of the damage, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the fact that the ospreys are happy to re-inhabit a place like the Bolton Castle estate means that there are decent quality waters, decent fish around for them to use. So that's a key indicator, and it's a sign of what we can do if people collaborate and work together. And that's what we're trying to further, I suppose, with the fight of the Osprey. So yeah, there's big complex issues like climate change, biodiversity, but what you really have to do is kind of figure out how we adapt to it and look at discrete problems and what we can do about it. So that's what we'll be trying to do on this whole migration. Look at not only, okay, there might be a problem from climate change, but what can we do to help adapt in this case? And I think we're going to find that people all the way from here to Ghana are going to be interested in helping.
And what a brilliant way to do it. Sacha, I'm so sorry. I didn't think you were taking part in this flight because of your injury, but good to hear that you will be. Fantastic news. Thank you.
I could look at that view over
I
Sacha's
know.
shoulder all day as well. That is the most glorious view. It's so calming and peaceful and serene, Sacha. I'm so jealous that you get to look
Osprey hunting out there.
What more do you need? That looks amazing.
Paragliding, yeah.
Enjoy it. Oh, very jealous of that view this morning. How wonderful was that?
Just like the view at Salford Quays where we are,
Much
isn't it?
the same.
Very
Yeah.
similar. Do stay with us. Plenty more to come on Breakfast.